Okay, so this is the official first Borders podcast.
Whoa.
We did do a test, but it didn't come out, so this is the official first one.
Right then, should we introduce ourselves?
Yes, we should. So I'm Lee.
And I'm Davey.
And in the Borders podcast, we purge the week. So we talk about stuff that's happened to us, which can be of personal interest or of wider interest, but it's always interesting.
Bit of purging.
Bit of purging.
Purging,
Sounds a bit painful, doesn't
it?
It
It does,
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter, it can be. But
can
you feel good afterwards.
We do.
Yes,
we do.
yes.
So basically, in these podcasts, we talk about ideally like 3 topics and the stuff that we have either done or that we've got opinions on, and just kind of go from there. Really.
We do, and it's a little bit improv, isn't it?
Yep.
And we're spontaneous. We're sitting down in a library,
Yep.
and I'm usually kind of high on chocolate, so you know we have to excuse
no
it.
script either.
No
so
script.
it's,
No, we're just sitting here relaxing, aren't we?
Yep, we are.
Yes. Right then. So what we're going to talk about today then?
Well, I think, very relevant experience that happened to me is that I met Dolph Lundgren on Sunday.
Go on then.
As you do. Sadly, it wasn't in a work context, but meeting him in person still counts, I think.
Wonderful.
So, yes, it was part of the Arnold Sports Festival, which is the first time it's been in the UK. And Dolph Lundgren, along with Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But go on, put the last bit about Schwarzenegger. He wasn't there, was he?
I was about to.
Oh, right, okay, right there.
So all those 3 were scheduled to attend. 2 of them did. Arnold apparently had a leg injury and he couldn't make it, so he had to beam in. And it's kind of, have you been to the NEC?
I've been there years ago, yes.
So basically, if you imagine all that space but filled with protein stands and gym jeggings and everything. So it was very busy,
The testosterone's heavy,
there's a lot of huge people walking around, chemically huge people, and
that's just the children.
there's just a lot of, it's a self-promotion thing for a lot of brands to do.
Of course,
but, it was good fun, and there were some weightlifting competitions.
Wow.
And honestly, some of these guys, they were lifting the weights a bit too fast, I think. Like, I was beginning to get a bit concerned about injuries, actually, to be fair.
Lots of groin strains then.
Hernias, potentially.
Ooh.
Well, basically, these guys, they had like 30 kilogram, maybe even 30 pounds probably, and they were having to kind of energetically, push them up and down, pick them up and down, like within 60 seconds. So I do a bit of gym, but I don't do it as fast as these guys. Anyway, so part of my past experience was they had an Arnold exhibition where you got to see the old movie pictures and the statues of Arnold. And Arnold's always been one of my favourite kind of icons because he's so pro like getting things done.
Yeah.
All of his stuff is like, do it now,
do it now.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah, all these films have so many catchphrases, like get to the chopper, get down.
Yes, get down.
Stick around.
I'll be back.
Exactly. So he's always been a staple of mine as a teenager when I watched Terminator 2.
Yeah.
So that was quite cool. So I got to see the exhibition. They got a big Arnold statue, and it was quite funny because people were queuing up to get a picture of it dead on. Whereas I just went to the side and took a picture of me against it from a different angle. I didn't have to queue. So sometimes you have to think outside the box.
You did, or think outside the Arnold.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
I did queue up and I got some merchandise. I debated between a cap or a t-shirt. But I bought a t-shirt because my head's a weird shape and the cap's always cut into the top.
Right. So you wanted to look normal then?
Yeah, I didn't want to take it off and have a big red mark on top of my head, which when you're bald is then really conspicuous.
I do that all the time.
Yeah,
you know that.
Well, hence balders. There we are.
Yeah, borders, hence, borders with lines on their head.
Indeed.
Yeah, right.
So, so then part of the so I kind of got there just after lunchtime. I'd done the exhibitions and things, and then they had a Q&A with Sylvester Stallone and Dolph Lundgren. And it was really well done, to be fair, because they had a stage and they had like a montage of the best film clips, and then they had some of my favourite music, like the da-da-da-da-da-da theme tune. And everyone was really pumped in the audience. But
where did that come from?
Sorry?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the Rocky tune. That is the Rocky tune.
Sorry, doesn't sound like Rocky. Don't know.
Okay, just never mind. Iconic.
Yeah, iconic. Not
iconic.
For you, yes.
Yeah,
for you. Iconic for you, yes.
I've seen all of the Rocky films, and I think the difference between Sylvester Stallone, he has a very personal journey which he tells to the Rocky story.
Yes.
Which is why they've been quite emotionally kind of supportive over the years during some difficult moments. So for me, the training montages is just that energy to kind of keep going. Arnold is inspirational, but he's never really done a truly personal film really about him, except maybe Pumping Iron, but he was very kind of combative and winding up the other contestants. So I think for me, Sly has that edge because he talks about his struggle quite a lot in his interviews. And yeah, it was really amazing to see him on stage. Sly was talking about the fact that 97% of actors on the American Guild aren't working. He's saying it's a very, very difficult industry. And he chased some banter with Dolph about the time that Arnold wanted Sly to do a bad movie, so he pretended to do Stop or My Mum Will Shoot. And then Sly got in and got his agent to negotiate harder. He then got the movie, but then the movie bombed because Arnold knew it would bomb. So that was one of their favourite things. And then Arnold actually called in via video call to actually partake in the discussion. So that was quite fun, a bit of a geek moment.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it always happens too fast. You get these periods of queuing up and then the event and then it's over. So we then went to this private kind of area where you got to queue up and basically meet Dolph Lundgren. I say meet in a very loose term. Basically, there were so many of us. It was already 5:30. My train was going at 6:30, so we really needed to get this done. And so basically kind of queued up, and it was almost like an airport check-in. Like you had to kind of take your bags off and put your phones away, everything else. You turn the corner, and then he's literally there.
Hello.
Yeah, he's there. He's huge. I'm just under 6 foot, and I got 2 pictures done. And there's one picture where you got to see him from the side, and he's like half a person thicker on top of him compared to me. So I went around the corner and I said, "Hey Dolph, we had to socially distance. There's a marker I had to stand, so I stood there. I wanted to do like a fighting pose because that's his most famous character, which is Ivan Drago. If you haven't seen Rocky IV, you will thank me. Go and watch it now." And so we're trying to get a good thing. I said, thanks for the inspiration, over the years. I left, but then I got called back by security, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And the photographer, basically, he got me with my eyes closed. So he says, can we do it again? So I went back, and then me and Dolph were laughing at the situation, trying to get a good fighting pose again, and socially distance at the same time.
And have your eyes open.
And my eyes open.
Have your eyes open.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in that picture. We finally got a good picture, and then that was it. So of course, I would have loved to have spoken more about I actually follow. So for fitness people out there, Arnold, Sly, and Dolph, they all have their own fitness books.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
And Arnold is it's actually an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is thick. It is like yellow pages thick. And but the thing is, it's full of grinding mechanical exercise, like very, very heavy, hardcore stuff, which some people can do, but I can't. Because my frame, I can get quite toned, but I can't get like really massively huge.
Yeah.
Stallone is a bit better because he mixes in a bit more boxing, but then Dolph's is actually very holistic. Like he builds in meditation, he builds in running, karate, and it was really interesting reading that. So actually, moving forward, when I adjust my sort of plan every few months or so. I quite like Dolph's approach in terms of a holistic kind of thing. So I kind of I was sort of high on nostalgia really after that because I'd grown up watching the Rocky IV montage to actually then meet one of the lead actors who was in it, and I've quoted many times to my friends, I must break you.
I must break you.
Yeah. Well, it said this flat Russian delivery. It's brilliant. And it was great. And then they've got a new cut of it coming out, the director's cut, which Stallone's gone back and re-edited some bits. So I was in sort of nostalgia and geek heaven really.
Good.
And then a lot of my friends afterwards, I told that I was getting a message on WhatsApp saying, "Oh my God, that was really cool."
No, it's great.
So it was good.
And you said it was interesting that his girlfriend or wife or something, she's like 24.
Yeah, I mean,
he's 64, isn't he?
Yeah,
63.
No, 63.
63.
I don't sort of pry.
No.
People's private
But I'm just curious of that. That's a big age difference, isn't it? That's 40 years nearly, isn't it?
As far as I know, and again, it's all through the press. I don't know how much of it's true, but I think he has split from his partner. And this girl, I think her name's Emma. I think they wrote an article in the magazine at the convention about fitness, in pairs, how to do sort of stretching things, and I think because obviously his fitness background, she's a personal trainer, so Yeah.
What a wonderful combination.
Absolutely.
That's the way it is,
if you're going out with Ivan Drago, who's a killing machine from Russia.
You got to.
But I can't emphasise enough. I mean, he's on stage and in person, he's very kind of chilled and relaxed, and
Yeah, he looks like the real McCoy. He looks like he's.
Well, the thing is, he's 63 and he's still in really good shape.
Yeah, I saw the picture. It's fantastic.
Over the course of my life, I've met 60-year-olds who are so dramatically out of shape. And
who look 70.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no 80 actually.
There's no beer belly. There's no kind of, just even bad skin or anything.
No,
you look fantastic.
No.
So if basically that's my life goal. If I can look as good as that, then
and get a personal trainer.
Maybe, we'll see.
Get a personal trainer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had a reasonable one. I mean, I had actually at the university, I have an unofficial personal trainer called Dan. Dan,
that's nice.
Yeah, well, he actually was a swimming guard attendant, but I would sometimes just quiz him on things generally. And he kind of corrected a couple of things that I thought were true but were not, or rounded out the myths a little bit. And that's the thing, that's what you pay. See, there's a difference between information and knowledge. So Dan has knowledge because he is a PT.
Yeah.
Information is what people read on the internet and they think that's what they need to do, and that's the difference. So that's kind of my Dolph experience pretty much done. What about, I mean, your kind of action cinema? I mean, who's like one of your main go-to characters? Is it Chuck Norris or like...
Chuck Norris.
I don't know.
Chuck Norris.
Or John Claude Van Damme. I mean, who's
No,
like,
no, it's funny with that. It's funny with that, isn't it? I tell you the man that I like. I like the Londoner. I like...
Oh, Jason Statham.
Yeah, now, I don't know why. I think because he does the splits, and it's something that I'd like to have a go. I mean, I'll be an A&E with it, but I think what I like about him is that at one point it seems he's quite natural with it. I mean, he's someone. I think you gave me the story. You know, he was an athlete, but I mean, he was a swimmer, wasn't he? But then he was a barrow boy for a while as well.
Yeah.
And so I think he's got that down-to-earth edginess that I like about him, but also I just think he's slim and he's got those characters that he plays, and he's British. I'm not being like it's like that, but he's British, in the same way.
Also, I mean, natural. I use the term loosely because obviously you're not born like with that physique. But what I mean is he's not like an inflated bodybuilder.
No, but
he's in good shape.
Yeah, but he's a swimmer and he's done martial arts.
He's believable.
He's believable, and I think for people who aren't bodybuilders, then there's something that you can aim for, that you can be slim and mean, you can be toned, like back to what you say, I'm getting towards 60 and I like to kind of keep myself as much as lean as I can, and I think sometimes, like you said, with him, you need a role model, and I think you're right on there. But the man, of course, I grew up with, or I always found was very good, of course, was Bruce Lee.
Okay, yeah.
Because Bruce Lee, but I mean, he was tiny.
Well, believe it or not, I am actually named after Bruce Lee.
Were you?
My dad was into karate.
Yes.
Sadly, me and karate never took off together, but I am very keen on fitness, yes. So Bruce Lee, I mean, there's no point stating the obvious, but he's obviously a huge talent, and I remember I think, if he was still around today, he'd be cameoing in these big expendable movies. He would have had an incredible range of roles.
Yes.
And I think, and what was amazing is when they film it, basically they had to ask him to slow down because the actual raw camera footage, he was moving so fast that they couldn't actually see the punch land.
No.
And they said he was so frustrated having to slow himself down because in competitions that was one of his main assets, how fast he was. So and
he's an innovator as well.
Absolutely.
He innovated kung fu, street fighting to fit.
He reshaped the teachings to make it work for him and inspire those people. And I think the whole fitness metaphor is something that you can actually apply to other areas of life. So what I've really gained from doing the fitness stuff is the little and often and repetition build up where you need to go. So for example, like if you set yourself a huge lofty goal of being, enormous, that's a huge goal to aim for. But what the gym mentality does is it breaks it down and says, well, if each week you do 3 days of X amount of repetitions, then over time you will build towards that goal. Now, if you translate that to business or relationships or anything else, if you're doing a little bit of writing, a little bit of extracurricular stuff each week, eventually that will build towards something else. And that to me has been fundamental in my life. I mean, genuinely.
I think from where I'm coming from is interesting, talking to a lot of people who were involved with the Hong Kong protest, that Bruce Lee was the big inspiration because he had this idea of flow like water. And the idea is that you move, and if you look at the protests, they were moving all the time. They were hard to kind of track down. And so it wasn't just the kind of ideas you said with body, it was also maybe some of his ideas have been taken into a political context. So that's a really interesting one. So yeah, good old Bruce. Yeah.
And on that line, obviously the tragedy of his son as well, Brandon, who was a martial artist.
Yeah, he was in The Crow, wasn't he?
Crow is one of my top 10 films.
Is it?
Yeah.
I never knew that. All right.
Yeah. My top 10, I think, The Matrix is in there, Inception is in there, Gladiator's in there, The Crow is in there. I mean, they're all significant genre pieces. And The Crow, I don't know whether it's because Bruce Lee died that it has this haunting quality. I suspect it might have, because when you're watching it, in the back of your mind, especially when he's getting shot, you're thinking, okay, is this the moment that he actually really died? So I think there is that sort of spectral quality haunting the movie. But also the movie itself is about loss, it's about death, it's about rebirth. So it's a very sort of complicated viewing experience when you know the background of him in it.
It was an accident, wasn't it?
It was, but it was one of those ones that could have been prevented just because the guy checking the blanks wasn't someone who usually did it. It was someone else. You can read up this online, guys, but the blanks weren't replaced or they were dislodged or something. So effectively, when he got shot with it, the blank actually got fired almost the same force as a bullet would have. So effectively, he was shot. And they tried to save him on, I think, 12 hours of surgery and everything else. So, and what makes it particularly haunting is in the film, Eric's partner, he plays Eric Draven, his partner spent X amount of hours in the hospital. So there's all these terrible sort of fiction becoming true in the story, which is really sad. But I think the overall film has an amazing aesthetic, and you feel like you're in this permanently nighttime city, like the whole movie, And I love that sort of atmosphere. I love that. And all the sequels are crap. I mean, I've seen them all, and they just don't come close to.
Well, he wasn't in them, was he?
No. But the thing is, it's
wasn't there.
The second one is almost a shot-for-shot remake of the first one with a different actor, and it's awful. I mean, it's really terrible. Yeah. And I do think Sylvester Stallone was saying it. He disagrees with remakes because he regretted doing the Get Carter one, and what he was basically saying is that. Sometimes you have a movie where you just have the right actor, the right script, the right director, the right zeitgeist in time, and that movie just works for whatever it is. Yeah. Coming back X amount of years later. For brand recognition, sure, that's why studios do it. But sometimes these movies can fail just because that was it, that was that one time.
Yeah, I think a classic example of that was The Italian Job. Yeah. Is that they tried to remake The Italian Job. One, the minis had changed; they weren't tiny anymore. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the kind of the very British chappy.
All bloated Americans.
Yeah, all bloated Americans.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, all Canadians. Hang
on. So personality test: Mark Wahlberg and Michael Caine. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but the thing is, as you said, I mean, it was the late '60s when the first one was made. It was that cheeky chappy. Yeah. You had all the classic British actors were in it. Yeah. Noel Coward was in it, for heaven's sake. Mm. And the music fitted as well. But when the remake, it was. I mean, what was upset me most of all was that Charlie Theron said that she'd never heard of the film of the first one. Well, that's not good, is it?
Do your homework, love.
Yeah, do your homework, love. Yeah,
he's only paid 10 million for it.
Yeah, that's it. Watch the bloody telly,
That's what annoys me. I mean, she's a great actress. She's
wonderful.
She's done some incredible roles, but that's sort of like cultural ignorance. I mean, again, out of context, maybe she hadn't seen it and then she went and watched it. I don't know, but yeah. A lot of this stuff we get from the press, you never know the full context.
No, I think she wasn't rude about it. She just said, "I don't know about it." Yeah. I think I remember something along those lines.
I suppose if you're an American, you might not have ever.
Well, she's African. She's Afrikaans, isn't she? Afrikaans.
Afrikaans. You might not have ever been culturally, I guess, exposed to wanting to watch that movie. I mean, because it feels like obviously, The Italian Job, but it has that sort of British kind of stamp on it. So maybe you would never have wanted to watch it. I don't know. I mean, part of film history is pretty significant, though. But
It was. It could have done a lot better at the time. The original.
Did they do a sequel then? Not.
No, they were going to do a sequel.
Because it ends with a cliffhanger, literally.
Yeah, they were going to do it, and it was going to be based about some years later. They actually wrote a script, but they never made it.
Oh, okay.
Because the idea was they come back and they pick up the gold and how they can get the gold back, and yeah, that's what I remember reading.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's tons of those aborted like what if movies.
I know.
Like sequels that were written and never happened.
I know. It's sad, isn't it? You know.
And often it's because sometimes the talent doesn't want to come back together again, but also sometimes the money men go in a completely different direction. They're like, right, we want to do this now.
But it goes back to what Stallone says: is that it's not just the actors; it's the magic that they bring together with the first one.
Yeah. That
you can't always recreate that, And I mean, don't get me wrong. The Rockies, of course, I saw 1 or 2 Rockies, but again, Rocky 3 and Rocky 4, and you've got all those others, and sometimes you just got to let it go.
Yeah.
You just got to go. That was a really good film, etc. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that
I'd say I'm more pro there being Rocky films because his character has actually developed through. So you've seen him go from being a street bum to getting married, to becoming a boxing champion, to having children, to losing everything, to becoming old, his wife passing away. So you've actually kind of aged along with the character.
I understand that.
I think one franchise that definitely needs to die is Terminator because for me, Terminator 2 is one of the absolute pinnacles of cinema, and it closed the films off beautifully. That was it. There didn't need to be a sequel. Okay. Terminator 3 ambled along, I think maybe 10 years later, and the problem is it scratched the itch for another Terminator movie because I saw Terminator 2 when I was like 13, and I've been waiting for another Terminator film for years. So to have a female Terminator, to have Arnold back in leather again, doing the one-liners, everybody just wanted them one more time.
Arnold back in leather.
Yeah,
Arnold back in leather.
Throwing people through windows, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The problem was though, is it was shot like a TV movie. Nick Stahl and Claire Danes had no chemistry together as John Connor and Catherine Brewster. It had a great ending, a very bleak ending. And the thing is, everything after that, particularly Genesis and Dark Fate, just feels like they're microwaving bits of the original, just trying to give it that extra life. And after Dark Fate, which is when Linda Hamilton came back, which by the way, Linda Hamilton is magnificent, and I think it's fantastic Hollywood is getting more mature actresses back in the lead role. I just think, I saw that and I was like, the memory of Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 are now so far away. It's like committee, Burger King filmmaking. It's a 12A. The first Terminator was an 18, and it's a nasty movie. It is a brilliant and brutal movie. Terminator 2 flipped it on his head by making him the protector, but it was still an adult and dark movie. Everything after that has been committee, PG-13, everything else.
And then the last one, you bring back Granny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For a 12A movie.
But I mean, to be fair, she's done well.
Oh, not just been that. But what I'm saying is that it seems like Granny come back for a 12A because it's mild,
But if Linda came back and done like an 18 or a 15 movie, that could be completely different. See, I think what they should do now is let the franchise definitely die, but do a low-budget reboot where one character has to survive one Terminator for 2 hours. That would be really intense. That would be brilliant. Speaking of totally needless remakes, I heard somewhere that they're now going to remake The Exorcist.
I've heard they're actually doing another sequel to Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis in it.
Well, Halloween Kills is coming out this year.
Yeah, Halloween Kills. That's it. That's the new one. Yeah.
See, and I've got mixed feelings about that as well because like the first Halloween obviously is a classic, yes, and this the updated one with Jamie Lee Curtis again revisited an old character, which I love that.
Is it a 12A? Is it? Or a 15?
No, I think it's 15. I think it's 15. And the thing is, again, it scratched the itch because after 10, 20 years, I can't remember, it was good to see her back, it was good to see Michael Myers back, but there's latest trailers making out he's some transcendent evil force that can never be killed.
So what's the point of the film?
Hang on, if he can never be killed, that's great for the studio, clearly, So, yeah, so we'll see.
I would, if I was her, I'd be absolutely fed up.
Oh, well, I don't know, a bit as a pension fund as well. I mean,
I mean, as a character. I mean, if you know he can't die, what's the point? I mean, because you're never going to win, are you?
Yeah, I think that's the problem actually.
You're not going to win.
But I don't know, is that the appeal?
Not for me. I want to see him dead at the end. I don't want to see him know he's going to come back for the next one.
I suppose, but.
You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah. But it raise that transcendental question. Of
but if they say that, then that for me ruins it because I don't want him to come back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he
So
will come back.
if you had your way, it would just be Halloween 1 and that was it.
It'd be Halloween 1, and then maybe, I don't know,
Exorcist 1.
Exorcist 1, and let's go
So I
for...
think Davey would kill all our major franchises, basically.
Yeah, well, see, my argument is we need more imagination,
Yeah.
you know.
But people sometimes need imagining done for them, hence all these movies. Well, I've actually only got a couple of minutes left now, we've only got 6 minutes left, so let's really quickly... I saw in the headlines...
Go on, 6 minutes left, go on.
Yeah, so
go on.
a Conservative MP was complaining that £80,000 a year is not enough for his salary.
Tosser. That's what I can say.
Now, the Daily Mail, which, you know, is to be taken with extreme caution and reading, but to be fair, they've done a helpful chart which basically said MPs typically can claim expenses up to this amount.
Yes.
They've got houses here.
Of course they can. Yes.
And basically, this guy was complaining that, you know, he said it's grim being on 80,000 a year.
Right.
Right. Let's clarify. After tax, it's £55,000 a year. Now, can someone tell me how it's grim to be on 55,000 a year?
Well, let's just put things into context, as we've got 3 or 4 minutes. I heard a day from a colleague of mine who works in a food bank, and they were telling me today that because of this shortage of things going on, you know, shortage of meat and stuff coming in, that they used to give 2 pieces of meat a week in the food parcel and dairy, and now it's gone down to 1, if not none.
What, 2 pieces of meat? What, as in
like a chop, I suppose, for as per person.
Yeah.
So the person is getting some meat, and getting or an equivalent, and getting some dairy. And he said that this week they put 2 yogurts in there.
Man.
Now, and so it's a nice contrast, isn't it? That you've got this person who's saying, now, here, I'm not happy about this, that I want more than 80 grand, and then you've got a family who's struggling, who is not getting the right amount of protein and other nutrients for a week. But also it brings into the fact that the wider issue that the supermarkets aren't contributing because they haven't got the stuff there. Yeah. So I just think it just makes a complete joke of what this fellow's saying, isn't it? Really,
These things happen, and there are countless examples of these gross injustices. But does anything ever really happen though?
No.
I mean, this guy, he'll sit there, his 55 grand. That family won't have their meat for that week. I mean,
but the point is that when you hear those stark realities, you go, why don't you just shut up, mate?
Yeah.
You go, why don't you just shut up? Or why don't you come down to
do
the food bank? Well, why don't you come down to the food bank?
Yeah.
And why don't you contribute a nice bit of meat or an alternative to those packages, so families can eat properly during the week?
Because he's in his little bubble where, whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, whoopsie daisy.
Yeah. I'm ringing the bell, I need more money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he can have all the meat he wants.
And in fact, actually, so he's already looking like a bit of an insensitive tit. But
that's an understatement, my dear.
I'm being polite.
Of course you are. Yes, I wouldn't.
But if he then actually was intelligent about the situation, if he then done exactly what he just said, and decided actually my comments were insensitive
and out of order.
I've decided that this month I'll donate my salary to a local food bank. He would get some respect back.
He would.
The thing is, he's an MP as well. So he's a public figure.
Yes, but I think rather than just contributing, I think it would do him a world of good, whoever he is, to actually go down to his local food bank and see what they're putting in, and then compare what he's eating every night, and then he might think about it. Bless him.
Other thing is, I mean, we are running out of time. The Panama Papers we should look at next week.
But
the Panama Papers, I mean, that's again like
Pandora.
Panama
was before.
Boxes.
Yes, boxes. Yes, you're thinking of the previous.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
but again, these rich guys complain and get away with stuff, and for them it's whoopsie daisy.
We must look at Pandora.
We will.
All right.
We will.
Right.
So last 3 seconds. So thanks everybody.
All right. Cheerio then. Yeah. Yes, we'll be back.
We'll be back. I'll be back.
You'll be back.
We'll be back.
I'll be back. We'll both be back. To paraphrase Arnie.
See, I don't know if it has much of a ring to it. We'll both be back.
I'll be back.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be back.
Be back.
We're back.
Yeah. Okay.